So my name's Chris Paradox, and I'm a one-legged existentialist stand-up beat poet. As you may have noticed, because I'm always banging on about it, I lost my leg in an accident 5 years ago, or my lower right leg, and when I sort of came out of the hospital after the amputation, I was very conscious of the fact that I didn't want to be self-conscious about having one leg. So I wore shorts as I walked around London, sort of getting used to it, because I wanted to get used to people's reactions. I didn't want to be in a position where I wanted to try and control people's reactions to me because it would upset me. I wanted to be in a position where whatever reactions I got, I could be okay with them. And I got lots of different reactions. One of my favourite reactions was kids, because kids are totally unself-conscious and they'll just go, "Oh look, he's got one leg, does it come off? Is it bionic? How does it work?" Like that. They just start asking you loads of questions. So I found myself giving workshops at the bus stop to a bunch of kids. That was fun. And the sort of average English person's reaction was, obviously, you know, it's not something you see every day, so people would be sort of taken aback and maybe curious and looking, but if I turned around and caught them looking at me, they'd be like, which is a good one. And then there was a strange reaction, which I like to label things in a silly kind of way, not seriously, but I call the Daily Mail reader's reaction. And some people, when they saw me, they would literally grab their kids and pull them away, sneering, as if to say, you know, "Get that ugly deformity out of here. Don't you know you're bringing the house prices down?" And of course, at first that was difficult to take. But when I find myself asking the question, how could they do that? I found that it's useful to ask the question, what would make me do that? And when I asked that question, the answer I got was that most of us don't like to be reminded of the fragility and vulnerability of the human body. Do we? You don't, do we? And so there I was, shoving it in their face with my leg, and that no doubt scared them a bit to be reminded of that. And we all know that fear can easily turn into a sneer, and kind of once I understood that, it didn't bother me anymore, which was nice. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there was what I labelled as a reaction. It was only a smile, but it always seemed to come from handsome middle-aged women with children of university age. And it would, like I said, it was a smile, but it wasn't just any old smile. It was a smile that, you know, expressed empathy, not pity, but empathy and solidarity and encouragement and empowerment. They're just all of these wonderful things, all in a smile. And in the last 5 years, it's maybe happened a dozen times. And I've had this smile because I know it, because I just end up floating or hopping on air for the rest of the day. And it always seems to come from handsome middle-aged women with children of university age. So, any handsome middle-aged women with children of university age here? Hey, that's right, thank you very much. So that was good. And sort of one of my other favourite reactions always used to come from an Irish guy outside of a pub, somebody who'd obviously spent a lot of time in and around pubs, and he'd see me and his eyes would light up and he'd be like, "Oh, come over here, my old mate, let me tell you about what happened to me during the war when I got some shrapnel." And it just turns out that he was so happy to see someone that he thought was worse off than himself that I immediately became his best friend. So that was a funny one. So I wanted to write a poem to express this strange experience of spending all my life, 41 years, as an able-bodied person, and then becoming a disabled person and slowly realising, oh, I'm the disabled guy. So it's called Disabled Guy. It's a hell of a thing to lose a limb, but I've never bothered to ask why. Because what matters is learning to live with the fact that now I'm the disabled guy. I'm getting stared at by passers-by. "Look, he's lost a leg. I think I'd rather die." I'm a freak, and people take a peek on the sly. I walk in a room and conversation runs dry. Sometimes fear becomes a sneer as I walk by. They can't hide their distaste no matter how hard they try. But some smile a smile that's wide and wry, because they know it's all about the attitude I apply. Because on the inside, there's a tragic ladder I climb to kiss the sky. So most of the time, I feel like the most high, superfly, disabled guy. It's a hell of a thing becoming disabled after 40 able-bodied years. "Hello, come in, sit down. Let me introduce you to your greatest fears. Here's a glass half full of laughter, and here's a glass half full of tears. And here's a brand new rude awakening to a completely new group of peers. So after 40 formative years, I stand before you deformed. The cause? The need for me to be reborn. The same cause all the fallen hordes hope not to be in forlorn. Shorn of my born adornment, I stand in the dark before the dawn, wearing the sexiest NHS accessory I've ever friggin' worn. You see, when I get on the bus and I see some young buck sitting in the disabled seats, the cheeky fuck, I stand in front of him and I say, check this, bruv! And I slowly begin to pull my trouser leg up. And I stare at him, and I stare at my leg, and I stare at him, and I stare at the leg, and I stare at him, and I shake my head, and if looks could kill, well, he'd be dead. You see, I get my powers from the kids. Some call me a flid, but most think I'm Inspector Gadget. And when they see the leg, they all point and stare. And when they see the stump, the little girls get scared. But my little mate Neo didn't care. He took one look and said, oh yeah, a bionic leg, cool, I want one too. I'm like, wake up Neo, legs are best still attached to you. See, I used to think we were freaks too. We used to make me uncomfortable, like we can do you. I didn't know what to say or do. I didn't want to get caught up in any boo-hoo-hoo. But now I'm one of them, and they're one of me. When the shoe's on the other foot, it's amazing what you see. People dealing with agony and tragedy with fantastic existential majesty. People whose physicality and neurology is way more damaged than me, but whose intensity of empathy is absolutely exemplary. See, disabled people tend to be very experienced existentially, and our experience of reality is very valuable when viewed creatively. And inspirationally, the very thing that you'd hate to be may be the key to your greatest destiny. It may be the perfect test to see if you can be more than you were born and blessed to be. Blessed be.